Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, akhi?
Alhamdulillah, how are you?
Alhamdulillah.
Are we finally ready to get the lesson started after the rain and other issues?
Yeah, inshallah. Today is gonna be another story about food being doubtful, being haram, and how the Sahabas dealt with doubtful food and haram food. So we start off with a story of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, the most eminent Sahaba, the second best person after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He had a slave who used to give him a share of whatever he had to his master, a share for the master. And once he brought Abu Bakr some food, and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu took a morsel out of it. Then the slave remarked, "You always inquire about the source of what I bring to you, but today you have not done so." Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu replied, "I was feeling so hungry that I failed to do that. Tell me now, how did you come by this food?" The slave said, "Before I embraced Islam, I practiced soothsaying. During those days, I came across some people of whom I practiced some of my charms. They promised to repay me for that later on. I happened to pass by those people today while they were engaged in a marriage ceremony, and they gave me this food." Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu exclaimed, "Ah, you would have surely killed me." Then he tried to vomit the morsel out that he had swallowed, but he could not because he was so hungry and he just had a small morsel and it wasn't coming out. So somebody else told him, "Take water, fill yourself up with water and then try to vomit it out." So he kept taking water and vomiting the water out until the morsel came out. Then somebody remarked, "May Allah have mercy on you. You put yourself to such trouble for one single morsel." To this he made a reply by saying, "I would have thrust it out even if I had to lose my life. I have heard the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, the flesh nourished by haram food is destined for the fire of hell. I therefore made haste to vomit this morsel, lest any portion of my body should receive nourishment from it." So there are many stories about Hazrat Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu in how careful he was with haram food and how precise he was with everything.
Yeah.
And today we go to the extent of feeding our Muslim brothers and sisters with haram by saying it's halal. These are Muslims. Muslims feeding other Muslims haram food. That is what that king done. Do you remember that story?
The king who tricked Muslims so that their prayers wouldn't be answered.
Their prayers wouldn't be answered. So this is what kuffars do. This is what munafiqs do. Not Muslims to Muslims. Muslims shouldn't ever do that, because if you have haram food, your du'as, nothing is accepted. And inshallah we'll come across a saying of the Prophet ﷺ about this, about haram food and prayers not being accepted, and I think his words are better than mine. In the same category of haram food and doubtful food, there's another story of another eminent Sahaba, Umar radiallahu anhu. A person once brought him some milk, and when he took it, it tasted quite weird, and he asked the person how he came in possession of the milk. The person replied, "The camel given in sadaqah were grazing in the desert, and the attendants gave me this milk out of what they got from them." Upon this, Umar radiallahu anhu put his hand in his throat and vomited all that he had taken. These God-fearing people not only totally abstained from haram food, but were most anxious to avoid any doubtful morsel finding its way inside them. They could not dare take anything that was haram, which is so unusual these days. These are the words of the writer of this book, Fazal Amal. But to add to that is absolutely true. We'll put a Haribo into our mouth and we wouldn't think about vomiting it out. Even that, in the last video I think we said about the fear of Allah, if a drop of tear was to touch any part of our body that has been shed with the fear of Allah, enter into Jannah. So if Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu is saying that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said a portion, if any flesh is nourished by haram food, is destined for Jahannam, then that portion, that part of the flesh won't be chopped off and put into Jahannam. It will drag us into Jahannam. For this simple Haribo, one Haribo Coca-Cola bottle or whatever, right? Come on, that's nothing. I mean, we'll have plenty of food in Jannah.
And those are the brothers and sisters who are doing it intentionally. Now those guys, astaghfirullah, Allah save us and guide us. They're doing it knowing that something's haram. But to the brothers and sisters who do have the sense, that they want to eat halal, but they're a bit, comfortable and relaxed in where they get their food from. Well, they should be a little bit more strict. And their intentions are good, because they eat halal and won't eat haram, and will judge people who eat haram. But you should strengthen that intention and be a bit more strict, because look at these stories and look at this evidence. I mean, that saying from the Prophet ﷺ, that's an evidence.
Yeah, that is
anyone who's nourished by haram is destined, meaning you can't do nothing about it, you will go to hell.
So obviously, I mean, these are the sayings of the Prophet ﷺ. Once there was a story. He went into the masjid and he saw a Sahaba sleeping in the masjid, and he told Ali radiallahu anhu to go and wake him up. And Ali radiallahu anhu went and woke him up, and then came back to the Prophet ﷺ and asked him, "O Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you always hasten to do right things, good stuff, but how comes you didn't go and wake this brother up?" And the Prophet ﷺ said, if this brother had rejected what I was telling him to do, then he would be renouncing his faith. But if he rejected your word, then he's still a Muslim. So knowing that the Prophet ﷺ is saying this, and
us going against
going against them,
that is renouncing.
It takes us out from the fold of Islam. So inshallah, we should strive hard to get the least doubtful food, the 100% inshallah halal food, and put it into our systems. And inshallah, our du'as, our prayers will always be accepted. We complain, why are we making so much dua, but our du'as aren't being accepted? Maybe it's because of that. Maybe we are having doubtful food, and we have to always, like these Sahabas, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he used to always ask, where did you get the food from? Even though it was Islam, Muslims. He used to always ask, where did you get the food from? Then we should follow these, because if we follow these eminent Sahabas, then we'll be following the Prophet ﷺ. If we follow the Prophet ﷺ and make him happy, then we make Allah happy. And if we make Allah happy, then He'll have mercy upon us, and inshallah save us from the fire of Jahannam. And if He saves us from the fire of Jahannam, maybe inshallah He puts us into Jannah. So we should strive hard to get the best food in the best halal, undoubtful way. You got anything else to add?
No, man, that was good. MashaAllah.
And may Allah Ta'ala give us all the tawfiq to act upon whatever has been said. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.